Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Tea Time SEO run by Authoritas. I'm SEO Joe Blogs, and I also have Carrie Shepherd with me, who's been sending you lots of informative emails about the agenda and some of the blog posts recapping our sessions. I just want to say a big thank you to everyone who's been coming to Tea Time SEO. We have had actually now 37 sessions of tea time, and we have, including today, 93 speakers, which is fantastic news. And if you've all enjoyed what you've seen, we'd like you to like our video and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Today we have quite an interesting topic about voice search. So is this voice search here to stay? As we all know, it's now 2020. We've got two speakers, Georgie and Sylvia, who will be sharing their insights. If you have any questions, please drop them in the chat and we can answer them at the end. So I'll pass over to you, Georgie.
Fab. Hi, everyone. I'm Georgie. I'm an SEO executive at Impression based in Nottingham. Aside from my role, I also head up Impression CSR activities. So I'm responsible for all our charity relationships. I've also got previous experience in more traditional style marketing. And I've got previous experience whilst working at the global networking brand Bumble. I'm also currently heading up the UK marketing for a charity called Find the Masks, which helps source PPE to those in need. Why I'm here today is that I'm fascinated with the capabilities of conversational AI. And then as a little side note, I love attempting to snowboard. I say attempt because I mainly just throw myself down the mountain and hope for the best.
Thank you, Georgie.
So, hi everyone. Thank you, Joe, for inviting me and for Authoritas for organizing this Tea Time SEO round of webinars. I'm a digital marketing specialist at WordLift, the AI powered SEO tool, and I have 13 years of experience in digital marketing and communication, where I cover different roles. Now I'm focusing on content marketing, and basically I'm in the intersection between SEO, content, and AI. I live in Rome, and when I'm not working or running after my toddler, I love to read and travel.
Great, thank you very much, Sylvia. And I just wanted to say a welcome to some of our regular attendees as well for today. So hello, Stephanie and Sarah, Azim, Lawrence, and Martina. Thank you all for joining. As I mentioned earlier, this session this is now 93 speakers that we have had, and we've had 37 sessions. So thank you all for your support and for coming to Tea Time SEO. If you enjoyed the podcasts or the live streaming, like the video and subscribe to our channel. I'm going to pass over now for Georgie and then Sylvia, who will share their insights about voice search. Over to you.
Thanks, Joe. So to start off with, I think that those who work in the digital marketing industry, I'm sure you would have heard all the noise around voice search and how it's going to be dominating search in 2020. There's a range of different stats that have been flying around that I've shown on screen, but I'd probably say that the overarching statistic is that 50% of all searches will be voice search by 2020. Well, yes, it's 2020, and yes, it's probably pretty unlikely that 50% of searches throughout the whole world are being made through voice assistants. This claim's been spread through various industry publications throughout the years, but I wanted to dig that little bit deeper to see where this claim actually sparked from. So during an interview with Fast Company back in 2014, the Chinese search engine Baidu's former chief data scientist stated that in 5 years' time, at least 50% of all searches are going to be either through images or through speech in China. So with so many different factors such as geographical, demographical and psychographics impacting how a consumer behaves and searches, I just wanted to clear this up, that it's probably been taken out of context just that little bit. So however, onto the question today, is voice search here to stay? In my opinion, yes. And Sylvia and I are about to present to you the following information for you to make your own mind up on it. So yeah, ran through the expectations of 2020, and here's the reality. So tech giants such as Google and Amazon aren't yet releasing accurate data distinguishing between voice search queries and their share as a device, but we can make informed judgments. We do know that consumers have continued to adopt voice assistants, and these tech organizations carry on expanding their complementing hardware ranges to create smart homes. So Google, for example, continues to release exciting announcements like those shown above to enable users to receive more relevant answers to their queries through voice, and increasing the ability to purchase seamlessly through a voice device when the intent matches up. So we've seen throughout the latter part of 2019 and the start of 2020, a rise in companies of all sizes and privatizations investing in voice-based research and development to help users discover instant, relevant information that's also they're easily able to convert with their brand. For example, flower delivery company Interflora launched their first voice commerce Alexa skill in the United Kingdom towards the end of 2019. This skill allows people to buy and send flowers through voice assistants using their Apple Pay to conduct transactions through voice. And also, as part of the NHS's long-term plan that aims to improve the quality of patient care and health outcomes in an effort to relieve pressure on the health service, it's committed to make more services available digitally. So patients can now use their Amazon Alexa to ask about various illnesses and receive credible, NHS-verified information as the output. So now I've run through a couple of I've run through the current state of play of the voice sector. I'll now move on to my top tips to optimize for voice-based searches. So tip number 1, content strategies are like onions and cakes. They have layers, with the small caveat that they should have layers. So the way users are searching is arguably altering, and assistants shift how consumers are gaining this information. When users started to use search engines, they would create queries as if they were speaking to a person. We then adapted to remove any prepositions and conjunctions and group short words together in order to work with Google. It now appears that there's a shift altering back towards a more natural and conversational search, where the intent behind a user's search is much more known. This could partly be a consequence of the rise in voice search. With Google's algorithm coined BERT that rolled out last year, we're seeing this impacting the results on the SERPs greatly. So those who aren't aware, BERT specifically focuses on pattern recognition, matching up with complex natural language processing, helping to better understand how human beings communicate so that the algorithm can return more relevant results to their users. So varied content lengths are essential for layered strategies, helping to target different audiences at different stages of their conversion funnel process. To clarify, I'm absolutely not recommending chucking out all your other content strategies that you have and just focusing on voice search. It's integral to layer different types of content to form your overall strategy. When creating your varied content, focus on both shorter keywords that have a much broader intent, whilst also focusing on longer tail keywords where the intent is much higher for a user to convert, and also reported to be more likely to be pulled into voice search results. On the right-hand side, I've included a table with specific content categories aligned with recommended content types shown from a SERP analysis. I'll post this on my Twitter afterwards if anyone wants to take a greater look. However, this strategy can help reach different touch points of the user journey, helping to increase brand awareness and hopefully conversions on the site. And then tip number 2, don't neglect the customers standing right in front of you. So here I'm going to be discussing how important it is to optimize locally and hyperlocally depending on your product or service. Near me is no longer about finding a specific place. It's now about finding a specific thing in a specific area in a specific period of time. Bit of a tongue twizzler. So near me searches are already so important for local businesses hoping to increase footfall to brick and mortar locations. I've taken a screen grab on the right-hand side from Google Trends. This outlines the rise in the search term near me in the UK over the past 5 years. We can see a continued upward trajectory of the near me search term, which could also be factoring in the rise in adoption of voice devices. Semantic search also allows Google to distinguish between different entities such as people, places, and things, and interprets a search intent based on a variety of different factors, such as a user location. This is something that Sylvia will be touching on a little later. Also, recent consumer behavioural changes reported by Google state that as countries start to emerge from lockdown, we've started to see a surge again in near-me searches. This is particularly apparent in countries such as Italy and Spain, and on the graph you can see a spike within the UK, which will be great to continue to monitor. And then finally from me, ways to optimize for local search and enhancing your voice visibility. So whether you're carrying out local SEO practices in a broader region or focusing on more of a hyper-local SEO practice, so focusing on such as like streets or landmarks, for example, all these tips can still apply. So optimize your local pages across your site for location-specific keywords. Continually update your Google My Business profile, particularly with COVID-19 information to inform your customers around different opening hours, what's going on with your business, contact information. I can't stress how important that this is. And then also including local business structured data to help Google understand where exactly that you're placed and to help you pull through into Google's local map pack. So yeah, that's everything from me. I'll now be passing over to Sylvia.
Okay, as Georgie said, I'm going to go through a view over how to use content in order to optimize for voice search and more into semantic SEO. In 1996, Bill Gates wrote, "Content is king," and it really became a kind of a catchphrase in the digital marketing of the early 2000s. And nowadays, it may sound a little naive, but if you think about content as separated from its container, and you think that content as its own law, then maybe content is still the king. So my 3 tips will be: don't think in terms of pages, think in terms of entities. Second, structure your content, building your own content model. And third, experiment new formats. So next slide, because okay. So don't think in terms of pages, because pages are really just a way to display content and to your users. But the real content is the entity. The entity is the brick of your content strategy, is the first brick of your content strategies, and it is something that has properties and relationships with other things. You can mark up entities with schema.org, and then search engines will understand them better. As you see in the screenshots, on the left side, you can see a recipe, how users would see it. And on the right side, you see the same recipe as Google and other search engines see it. So it has properties such as ingredients, cooking time, and stuff like that, that helps Google understand the specifics of the content and serve it to the users for the right intent. Next slide. So the good news for voice search is that with some entity types, you can create actions for the assistant. So, for example, from recipes, Google uses the structured data both to build recipe carousels, as you can see in the screenshot, and also to create an action on the recipe itself when a user is looking for a recipe. And the same goes for how-tos, news articles, and podcasts. Next slide. So what I would like to say is that when you move from building pages to create structured data, you create relationship between entities that matter for you, for your business, and for your user. So, for example, if you have all the information related to a course or a webinar in a cluster of different pages, it can be easy for you to stand out on Google and answer different intents of the user. So this brings me to the content model. So structure your content model. Building a relationship between your content cluster. So content modeling is the law that underlies your content. As Cruz Sanders said, your content model is your your ultimate source of truth, meaning that the way your content is connected and built is the key to understand and to read your content, both for users and for search engines. So in this case, you see the content model of the WordLift Academy, where we have webinars and courses about SEO, AI, and semantics. And you can see that each course is connected with data points on one side and with other content in the other pages in the site, which are entities about, for example, the speakers, our organization as a publisher, and so on. So upon this content model, we did an experiment, which is Google Mini Apps Early Access Pilot. So we joined this early program by Google and used our content model to create this user interface, which should have been available on the SERP. And users can look for content both by looking for webinars by and name of the instructor. For example, webinars by Jason Barnard, and look for content looking by topics. So, for example, webinars about SEO, webinars about AI, BERT, and stuff like that. And next slide. So we had two main parameters, which were the instructor and the entity, which stands for the topic. But what really happened is, and this is the last slide. Next. What really happened is that this experiment has been shut down due to COVID-19. So I'm afraid you won't see it in the SERP anytime soon, and probably never. But we use the same structure to build an assistant app for Google. So the takeaway from this story is that as formats change, evolve, and you experiment new things, your content model is the very pillar of your content strategy, and you can use it to offer your content in different formats, in different environments, and of course also for in a voice search. So that's it.
That was fantastic. Thank you very much. So many insights that both of you have shared. And thanks again for talking today. And also, I would say we're an international environment here. We've got Sylvia coming in from Rome, Italy, Georgie dialing from the UK, Carrie as well. I'm coming in from Barcelona. We have some of our guests coming in from the US as well as UK. If you are dialing in from anywhere outside of those countries, please put in the chat. This is an international tea time SEO. We've got a few comments here from our audience, so I'll pass over to Carrie, who can ask some of the questions. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Jo. So we have the first question from Andy. How do you go about measuring voice search? What data do you use?
So yeah, as I said earlier, it's pretty frustrating that like Google and Amazon, they're not actually releasing this data at the moment. I think me personally, I've joined a lot of voice-based communities, so I try and get insights from there. Also, we're subscribed to Search Metrics, and they've got quite a cool keyword research tool. So you can type in like the near me searches, and you can get really intrinsic data in there. Yeah, and just it is, I'd probably say at the moment it is like a little bit of guessing. It's not that accurate, but I think that from reading lots of articles and seeing the way that Google is focusing towards more geared towards voice, that I think that within the future we'll be able to really hone in some more accurate ways.
Anything you'd like to add, Sylvia?
Sorry?
Anything you would like to add?
Yeah. For sure, there are no enough data, as Georgie said, but you can try filter the queries by their form or meaning. For example, filtering out all the queries that contain near me could help you understand which ones could be voice searches.
Yeah, that's really useful. Thank you, guys. So we got another question from Andy. Do you guys test using a Google Assistant devices at home or Alexas?
Yeah, so I do. I think it can probably be a bit annoying. I think I'm back home with my family at the moment, and I'm utilising their Alexa quite a fair bit. Yeah, I just think it's quite interesting that you can get the Google Assistant on your phone. I've been using that quite a lot, and just seeing that the searches that they're returning and their ability to understand different dialects and languages and returning an answer almost instantaneously is just super interesting. And I think as well at Impression, we do a lot of work with structured data. So it's really interesting using the rich snippet tool and just seeing how different things will be pulled through to different devices. And so that's what I've been doing.
What about you, Sylvia? Do you use any personal assistants?
Yeah, I use the Google Assistant on my phone, but and also I have Alexa in the other room, so I also use Alexa for simple actions. And well, as Georgie said, I'm pretty interested at its functioning and how it replies to different languages, and also different kind of pronouncing different things. For example, I noticed that when you, this is my kid, when you pronounce something that is in English while searching in Italian, it doesn't get it if you don't pronounce it as you're pronouncing it in Italian sometimes.
Which is that's quite interesting. Yeah, that's really interesting. Thank you. We have another question from Azim. What differences are you noticing in voice searches pre and during COVID, if any? insights into how behavior has changed?
Yeah, I'd probably say what I mentioned briefly within my talk, that around like the near me searches, we're starting to see a surge. I really recommend anyone that's interested in this just really diving into Google Analytics and also subscribing to Think with Google. They send you emails pretty much daily about different consumer behavioral changes, and that's like all throughout the world. And it's really interesting. They're focusing quite a lot on COVID-19. So as we're seeing certain shops opening in different countries, that's where we're seeing a rise of near me searches, and for like really specific restaurants or something like that. It's just a whole lot of data to get really amongst.
Anything that you've seen, Sylvia?
Yeah, for sure. Things like directions are quite specific in voice search, meaning that, of course, you can have directions from Google Maps, but when you look for them in the Google Assistant, it also takes a lot of information about contextual information, and then gives you the instruction in a slightly different way.
That's interesting. Thank you, guys. We have another question. How do you know if your site is optimized for voice search?
This pairs with the one about statistics, meaning that what we do is experimenting. When we try something that should go on voice search, then we just try to see if the Google Assistant or any other assistant is replying well to our searches. But not having clear statistics, it's just not too easy to adjust your strategy.
Definitely, I'd probably say the same as Sylvia. So you do have to go out and test it at the moment, because it is quite a new concept. I think Google's learning as well. So if you can test it out on an actual device, or some tools that do mirror device, like the Rich Snippet tool, that's just a great way to see how it does show up. For example, how-to content is really great if you have like images associated with it as well. So like the how-to markup with images, really recommend that, because on the Google devices with the screen, they look great, especially with like recipes as well. So I think, yeah, it is definitely testing to see like what is showing up.
That's really interesting. Thank you, guys. I think that's all the questions we have at the moment. Yeah, is there anything else you want to ask, Joe?
No, well, it was just really tied into the last question, really. I suppose if you're an agency and you're saying to your client that, oh, we need to optimize for voice, then they may ask, okay, then, and then they would want to see the results. So they would want to see, okay, so what time, so money, have I, a client, spent on optimizing for voice, and what are the results? I suppose that is more difficult, it seems, to measure, as there aren't really any measuring tools. So I wanted to ask, your opinion on, how you normally can track that, the time that you spent, and what the difference was.
Well, we don't usually just optimize for voice. We contextually optimize for voice, and very often for feature snippets, rich snippets, and more things. So the overall result count, and again, testing what the result may be on your Google Assistant is already some proof.
Yeah, definitely. I think the same as Sylvia as well. I don't think it's fair to say to a client that we're going to specifically optimize for voice search, because I don't think there's enough. Mm-hmm. Like you say, Joe, there's not the tools out there at the moment that I'm not aware of to really test it. But what we can do is that we can focus on more longer tail strategies. If we do the test, if we see that some of these searches are being pulled through to search, then we can say to our clients that these more conversational FAQ style content, it could be pulled through to search, and this is passing through or driving this amount of users to the site. So I think it is being honest with your clients and say that this is an upcoming opportunity, and it would be great to integrate it in your strategy. But yeah, it is a bit ambiguous to record at the moment.
Okay, well, thank you very much. Very useful insights with loads of comments and questions. Thank you very much, Sylvia and Georgie, for speaking. Their contact details are here on Twitter. I've seen some people were asking about how to get in touch. We will also be tagging them on Twitter on LinkedIn, sorry, as we did earlier. And we have a break on Monday, as it's Bank Holiday Monday. So we're back for Tea Time SEO, and Jason Bernard will be hosting. He'll be hosting and sharing his tips around knowledge panels and GMB with Andrea and Paige. So Andrea works with Sylvia as well. So he was actually on with Jason earlier in our Tea Time SEO series. So we'd love you to come back with us, come and join us at 4 p.m. on Tuesday. Have your tea ready, maybe some coffee and some cake as well. And if you've enjoyed the talk so far, like the video and subscribe to our YouTube channel. As I mentioned earlier, we've had now 37 sessions of Tea Time SEO, and big thank you to some of you regular people who have joined us, like Azim and Stephanie, Andy and Sarah. It's been great to have you here. Arid has been as well. And we've had loads of different topics, and we've had great insights from our now 93 speakers. So thank you very much, everyone, for joining. And we'll see you on Tuesday, where Jason will be hosting and also sharing his knowledge with two other great speakers, Andrea, and also Paige Hobart from Roast. So knowledge panels and GMB. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Right.